Hello and welcome to PhysicsOH. My name is Eric. Last night something super cool happened after stream and I thought I just had to share it with you guys. So last night as I'm cleaning up stream, the lab coordinator for my university stops by. And we were talking about my water and my sink because it's been smelling weird and it tastes like chemicals and stuff, so I've been not drinking it or using it. And I go to pour him a little bit in a cup. And he says, "Hey, is that cup ceramic?" And he's looking at this cup here, this cup I have. And I said, "Yeah, it is." And he goes, "Quick, fill it up with the water and let me show you something." And what happened next absolutely blew my mind. Let me show you. And what's gonna have to you're gonna have to listen very closely. So I'm gonna put my microphone right down here. Right there. And I'm gonna do this. Ready? So you listen very closely. And it's gone. And it's crazy. If you look inside now, see if I can pull this up here. If you look inside, the water's perfectly clear. But what does it look like before I do that? Let's get some more here. If you look inside, notice how it's really cloudy. And what's going on there is that the water has a lot of little tiny air bubbles. A lot of people might have this at home if they have water like that, where they, if there's something wrong with the pipes, or if they redo some piping or something like that, then what happens is the water inside gets full of tiny little air bubbles. And the lab coordinator and I were talking about it, and what we think happens, it seems pretty logical, is that the density of water changes. So now let's try a couple things real quick. What happens if I just tap it on the counter without anything in it? Let's listen to the sound it makes. Now let's listen to it with some water in it. And this is just the plain water from the tap without the bubbles of air. So do you hear the two different sounds that it makes? And what we think is going on, and this kind of stems from the way that the sound is made. So every time we tap the ceramic glass on the surface of the counter, we're taking the energy from the collision, and the energy waves are moving through the ceramic material. And as it interacts with the air around it, if there is air around it, then you hear a frequency of those waves that are traveling through the material. And what happens if instead of hitting it and having the material interact with the air around it, what happens if it interacts with water? Well, some of that energy from the waves is not going to be interacting with the air, it will be interacting with the water, and the sound will make a different sound. So the lab coordinator and I were talking, and this is what we think happens, right? So you hear the two different pitches, one of them being in air and one of them being in water. But what happens if we change the density of water by introducing another substance, i.e. little tiny bubbles of air? Well, the density of the water is going to change, and therefore the way that the vibrations inside the ceramic interacts with that new water is going to have a different sound than the water without the air bubbles. And the reason that it starts to change frequencies is that as you're tapping it on the surface, the air bubbles begin to move through the liquid and start combining with each other. And as you're tapping it more and more, the density of the bubbles in the water is changing as you tap it, till eventually you get to that point where you hear a little fizz at the end and all of the bubbles have left the water and we get that nice clear water again. So when I saw that, my mind was absolutely blown. I never thought of it. Growing up in an old house in rural New York, every once in a while, we would just have little bubbles in our water. The water was kind of cloudy, and we knew that they were just bubbles, and sometimes you just drink it because you're in a hurry, and sometimes you wait for the bubbles to go away. But either way, it was just little bubbles. And never in my dreams did I imagine that it would have such a weird consequence in physics or display such an odd sound. But I'm also curious to know what you guys think. Is that exactly what's going on? Maybe you know more about it than I do. If you know something and would like to share it, please share in the comments below. Also, I do stream physics on twitch.tv/PhysicsOH. I stream every Wednesdays and Sundays for now, with occasional stream on Friday. You can catch all the information down in the description below. If you like this, you can come over there, ask a question. If you'd like to talk about the mathematics behind this phenomenon, then please, again, make a note in the comments and then stop by the Twitch channel sometime and maybe we'll have a chance to do it. And I hope to see you guys there. Take care.